Alan Craig is my guest. Alan, as I said, came by years ago, and I interviewed him in another lifetime, it seems, talking about Living Rock Ministries in Hamilton. Terrific work that is so highly respected right across the nation. Welcome back, Alan.
Thank you, Jim. Good to be here.
You know, for the sake of viewers who have not seen you before, it's often the case with these kinds of, I would call it high maintenance ministries. I mean, really, when you're dealing with street people the way you are and some of the issues and urgencies of that subculture, it really requires a lot of focus, a lot of energy, yeah. High maintenance ministries. Often with these high maintenance ministries, I'm talking to people who head them up, who in many ways, as they're ministering to street people, are ministering themselves because they see themselves in the people to whom they're ministering. Is that the case with you?
It is, Jim. Yeah, I had been a street-involved youth a long time ago, back in the 70s, and I had lived that life. Came out of a dysfunctional family, a lot of alcoholism, got into the whole, the drug abuse and the, just the party lifestyle. And traveled across the country, lived in cities like Edmonton, Toronto, different places, and really became a street-involved youth. Became a Christian, really had a burden to reach out and reach back and minister to the orphan and the widow, the alien and strangers, it says in James chapter 1, verse 27, yeah. It's pure and undefiled religion. And yeah. that's what the whole premise of this ministry is. We just met, a bunch of us met back we're going on 25 years, so back in 1985, we some musician friends of mine and a few people just met in an apartment and just prayed and asked God, how do you want us to reach out? And out of that came this ministry.
Now, you use the term street involved rather than street kid. Why the street involved? Why that word?
Well, youth come from all parts of the community. I mean, we have youth that have come down from the Kingsway in Toronto and have traveled to Hamilton and have found themselves downtown. They come from affluent areas. The typical street youth living in the inner city isn't really very factual. We have youth that come from Waterdown, Ancaster, and maybe they've come out of a dysfunctional home. Maybe they're dealing with some mental health disorder, or they're dealing with some kind of rebellious thing in their life, and they find themselves on the streets in that culture. So they may not be living there, or they may be living in shelters or in apartments, or as they call them, squats. But they find themselves in that community, in that culture, and they're vulnerable to all the activities, the gang involvement, and all the activities that go along with being a street involved.
No, did you live on the street when you were wandering in your earlier life?
Periodically, I'd stay at missions and Salvation Army hostels when I'd hitchhiked across the country, and I would find myself, as I said, in Edmonton, Vancouver for a little while. And I would hook up with other youth, in a similar circumstance, and we would one point we had an apartment with about 14, one-bedroom apartment with about 14 of us living in this apartment until the landlord decided to remove us. And we lived in old houses. We would find places to live. It's hard to actually live on the streets in Canada, especially as you know in the wintertime.
Well, yeah, really.
But just going from place to place, they call it Couchsurfing. It's a common expression used by the youth, so they'll stay at one friend's house or they'll go to another and they'll move around.
Tell me, you're someone who's done it. Is this an adventure or is it a burden?
It can be. I think the stereotype, days of the 60s, drop out and just go live in Haight-Ashbury in California isn't really anymore the case. Most youth are running from something. Many youth, I mean, they've done surveys with the youth and found high percentages. I don't want to throw stats around, but if you want stats, you could read my book, Between Me and a Hard Place, and we've done studies on this with social planning and research, and across Canada found high percentages of youth that have run from maybe abusive home lives or real dysfunctional type family lives, and found themselves, down on the streets. I had one young girl a few years ago come to me and living in a burned out building, 15 years old, very beautiful girl. And I would say to her, don't you want to, isn't it safer for you at home? And, she would say, no, actually it's more abusive and there's more risk for me to be in the home than there is down here in this burned out building downtown Hamilton.
It's hard for people to imagine that, but that so often is the case. Now, your ministry is 25 years of age. It's obviously evolved and grown. I was fascinated with this Soupfest concept. In fact, I hadn't really heard about it until I was getting ready for this interview with you. Tell us about this.
Well, soup's the ultimate comfort food. So we had this poet in Hamilton, Gary Christensen, come to us about 8 years ago and say he had this concept and this idea of starting this thing called Soupfest. And I got to tell you, when he first came to us, I thought he was crazy. I couldn't see the connection. But after working with him and having meetings for about a year, I realized he was crazy. Hope he's not listening. But we ventured into this, and we called up some restaurants, and we got people together and rented. Originally, it was the Luna Station. Now we've moved to the convention center, needing a larger facility. And it's just really caught on. It's become one of Hamilton's favorite festivals. And we gathered the whole community together. The mayor comes out, the chief of police. We get all kinds of different ministries and agencies that will come out and stand with us on this. And it's just a great time to celebrate and bring people together. And we do a fundraiser too, and it brings in proceeds that go directly to our ministry.
Now, in that B-roll we had, we were looking at, it looked like a hotel foyer or something. But a lot of these restaurants, participating restaurants, are really highlighting their specialties, right?
They are, yeah, and their soups, and they come in. Many of those restaurants are known for their soups. Right. We have 27 restaurants this year competing, which I think is the highest number we've ever had, and some of the most amazing soups you'll ever taste, honestly.
Now you say competing. Yes. There's a competition here.
Yeah, they can win. They win for best soup, best display. You'll go into many of the restaurants in Hamilton. You'll see their certificates up on their walls, and they're very proud of their soups and their contribution to this event.
So the proceeds go to your work. Now tell us about your work. Give us an update on what you are doing right now.
Well, we have 2 buildings in downtown Hamilton. We run ministry programs down there, from chapel services to ministry type programs, Bible studies. So we have that component. We also have employment programs. We have coaches that work alongside of the youth. They're trying to change their life and go from possibly gang involvement to employment and getting out of their circumstances into more positive activity. We have a program called Tri-Rock, which finds work placements for youth. So although we do drop-in type programs, on the weekends, evenings, we have a breakfast program in the morning. We also, throughout the day, I call it the prime time hours, from 9 to 4:30, we run a number of different employment programs to help the youth get from where they are to a new place in their life. And for many of the youth, all they really need is a chance and some direction, and to help them get into a new place. And we've had youth that have established great careers over the years.
Really?
And we had one youth who came in and spoke, who'd got a career as a bricklayer, who said, I make probably twice as much as now as your staff do, which wasn't great for my staff morale. but we've seen youth really go ahead and really change their lives, and so the Rock that's our main focus, is to help youth redirect and to find that place in society that we all have. Right?
Now this next Soupfest is coming up on Groundhog Day, I think, right?
It's a week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow. Let's put some information up here. So it's Tuesday the 2nd. From 11:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. the Hamilton Convention Center, and you can call that number for more info or log on to livingrock.ca. About a minute and a half left. Are you encouraged by what you see happening on the streets in Hamilton, or are you discouraged? Do you see any improvements?
It's a two-sided question. I'm encouraged by the lives that we see get changed. And that's what keeps us going. And that's the book that you can get online, Between Me and a Hard Place, that we just wrote. There's a lot of stories. We call it incredible encouragements. There's a lot of stories of youth whose lives have been absolutely transformed and changed. But I'm not encouraged. Gang involvements has been in the increase. Matter of fact, we're running a big conference in April 22nd. We have Daryl Scott coming in speaking, who was the father of Rachel from Rachel's Challenge. I think he's been on this show before. He's coming in to speak among a number of other speakers. We're running in April 22nd to talk about the issues on the streets of cities in Canada. It's in the increase. Gang involvement's in the increase. Street involvement's in the increase. Violence. Never before have I seen the degree of violence on the streets of our cities within youth culture than I see now. So that's discouraging. but we are making a difference in individual lives, and that's what keeps us going. It keeps us
Just a
pressing
few
ahead.
seconds left. Violence, conflict between gangs? Is that what you're talking about?
Between gangs over territory, between youth themselves, fights within the youth themselves. You know, the days of the peace and all of that don't seem to be there anymore. I mean, youth are in community and they do care about each other, but there is that territorial thing within gangs trying to get new territory, new turf, as you will, and there's a lot of fighting over drug movement and that type of thing. So yeah.
Well, Alan Craig, Living Rock Ministries, you're doing a terrific job, and as things increase, all the more reason for you to be there. And friends, if you can get involved with Soupfest, if you're in the Hamilton area, by all means do that on February the 2nd. Thanks for coming our way.
Thanks, Jim. Good to be here.